The Geography of Central Asia in the Bhagavat Purana, Part 3 of a single presentation I made on Zoom. Naturally, this follows Geography of Central Asia in the Bhagavat Purana, Parts 1 and 2.
I want to finish off with a few additional thoughts, and that's regarding Meru and Mount Kailash. So in the model we described, in this model the Pamir Mountains can be identified with the base of Mount Meru and the Livatavash, where Lord Shiva resides. This is the picture I showed earlier of Jamburup there, but showing, of course, Lord Shiva sitting there in his meditation, actually receiving the Ganges fall upon his head and breaking the fall of the Ganges so it can enter the earth safely. This is a picture there of the Pamir Mountains. But interestingly enough, this is Kailash mountain, which is more associated with Lord Shiva. A very, very sacred mountain within a number of traditions. So there is one small dilemma, however, is the geographical distance between the Pamir Mountains and Mount Kailash. In fact, as a crow flies, there's something in the region of 759 miles between the two. And yet, from what the geographical description of Jamburup, we would assume that these mountains are actually supposed to be the same. But if we go back here, we can refer to one of our other earlier illustrations. Go to the central part here. And what's interesting here, we have the Nishada Mountains there, which we described earlier. But here we have Kailash and Meru Mandala, all to the south of Meru itself in this particular illustration, which is interesting. We impose that on our Google Maps image here. And in this situation, Nishada, or the Hindu Kush and the Kunlun, would actually, of course, be south of the Pamir Mountains. But Mount Kailash there, this would be much further south, actually, hundreds of miles further south in this case. But we have to learn a little bit about Mount Kailash. Its significance has to be acknowledged. Regarded as the axis of the universe, where the heavens and earth converge, holds a unique place in the hearts of Hindus, Buddhists, Jains, and the Bon tradition. Identified by many as Mount Meru, although there's some issues with its physical location, as I described. It remains one of the few major peaks of the world that has never been climbed despite its relatively moderate height. Renowned for its 4 distinct faces, each facing one of the 4 cardinal directions. Remember, that's very similar to Mount Meru. The source of the 4 of Asia's major rivers. Again, very consistent there. Mount Kailash is known for its magnetic anomalies, with compass needles failing to point towards the north. Time is said to pass quicker in the region. Some report accelerating aging when they are there. And helicopters are not even allowed to fly near or land on Mount Kailash because it's a holy mountain and a no-fly zone, considered to be unsafe actually. So how do we get over this? The difference between the Pamir Mountains and Mount Kailash? I think at this point we have to turn to another model as proposed by Richard L Thompson. Of course, here are the 4 models I mentioned earlier, but I wanted to talk a little bit about the other interpretation, which is the realm of the demigods. Referring here back to the base of Meru and the kind of scales. If we take the size of the yojana as being about 8 or 8.5 miles, we actually get very, very large scale mountains indeed. The trees, the lakes, the mountains, the heights, everything. In fact, at 8.5 miles per yojana, the earth would actually be tiny in comparison with the mountains of Jamburup. So we're talking about something very, very large here and a different model altogether. According to a similar scale, a banyan tree here, which Lord Shiva there is sitting at the bottom of, is something which is larger than Western Europe. And according to that scale, Lord Shiva himself would probably be about the size of the country of Wales, just to the west of England there. So very, very large scale here. We're dealing with heavenly realms here, higher dimensional heavenly realms beyond our experience, quite obviously. And people often imagine Lord Shiva to be sitting there in the cold. Often you'll see that in media or cartoons, where Lord Shiva's there, it's seen as being in a very kind of icy, snowy place. But a little bit of, as described in the 5th canto, is actually a very lush place with flowers and fruits of all kinds, and the kind of place you would actually want to be, really. But it depends on your vision. It depends which dimensional view you're in. From mundane physical point of view, perhaps Mount Kailash is simply that kind of place. But from the point of view of the demigods, in the demigod model, that's not the case. And there's some good examples here in the Puranic scriptures and the Mahabharata, where there's interaction between the earthly realms and the heavenly realms. With the valleys of Mount Meru and Iluratavash, Kadama, for the pleasure of Devahuti, travelled into the valleys of Meru in his aerial mansion. So it's not a place that he walked, but actually he had to go in a vimana to enter those places. Bhima, in the Mahabharata, reaches the border of Kimpurusharvash, where he meets Hanuman. So the yellow arrow there in this illustration is indicating where that would be in Dambadweep. But already he's meeting characters, which of course, like Hanuman, for example, which we wouldn't normally see, the average rock climber wouldn't see, because Bhima had special access to these regions. And later on, he enters the realm of Kubera, where he fights with yakshas and so forth to obtain 1,000-petaled flower. So of course, he's already somehow there accessed the heavenly realms, which have a relationship, direct or indirect, with the physical realms described in chapter 5 of Satiputta's book. Arjuna's tapasya or austerities in the upper Himalayas. So in the Mahabharata, we learn Arjuna goes to the high Himalayas, meets with the king of the gods Indra to request celestial weapons. But Indra tells him it requires a benediction from Lord Shiva. So what we're dealing with here is that from the geographical or the physical point of view, the physical interpretation, the mountains of Central Asia, especially of course holy mountains, are indeed a destiny for a place for yogis and so forth. But it would appear that actually they can access higher realms through means of their subtle body or other means of transportation, and one needs their power, needs the credits, if you like, the vision to perceive and experience these places. So, thanks for watching and listening.
That was the final video in this Puranic geography series on this channel. I hope you enjoyed all 3 parts. Take care now.